guys, this is KSP with Tape, and today you join me for episode 44 of KSP Road to Exploration, and today we start with something a little interesting. This is a first stage test of a new rocket I'm working on, a replacement for some of the older Pulsar rockets, which are kind of aging at this point, and I want this to land just on parachutes. So I've given it 8 parachutes, and it's quite a small stage, but because it has a very efficient rocket engine, that's, by the way, the Vector engine with its gimbal range throttled back to about a degree and a half, but it's just very efficient and has a very high thrust to weight ratio, so that's why I'm using it for this. Anyway, but this is just a test to see if I can land without any propulsion, and I totally can. It lands very nicely on 8 parachutes because it's quite a small first stage, but it is very high performing, and you will see this full rocket later in the episode, but I just wanted to show you the test of this. So, we've been given quite a nice few missions, and one of them is to return some science data from the surface of Moho, and luckily for us, we have a little probe on the surface of Moho. So I've just taken a temperature report and transmitted it back when we were all in range with the orbiter and Kerbal and stuff, and we got 100 grand for that, which was really good. I didn't have to do anything. And similarly, I have a mission to take a temperature report from the space above Gilly. So I'm just going to jump up after when the thermometer's about to take its report, because of course there's a signal delay because of remote tech. And now I'm just above the surface, and I've got a report from the space around Gilly, and I can transmit that back, and I get it 90 grand. So that's 190 grand, very easily made. This EVE mission really made my space program. It's been very profitable. Hugely so. And we just parked that on the surface. But anyway, if you have been watching for a while, you will know that I've had Kerbals on the moon for a while, performing scientific duties, and at one point taking our first long-duration rover drive, which was kind of interesting, 20 kilometers away, so a 40-kilometer journey in total. But right now, we have to leave the base because we are out of life support. I've been running the carbon scrubbers and water recyclers, and those have basically used up all of the space for waste, because I don't actually have enough waste storage. It means that my water and oxygen lasts much longer, but it means I can't put any of my waste food anywhere, so I have to leave now. And also, we've done all of the things we need to do. We've completely performed all of the missions all of the objectives I've had in mind for this mission. So yeah, we've produced over 400 science, and we have about 100 more in the capsule. We've taken our first long-duration rover mission and taken a bunch of scientific reports from an old biome where we've never had those reports from before, because we landed in it a long time ago, and we've tested out the water purification and the carbon scrubbers. So very effective mission, and obviously tested out living long periods of time on the surface of another world. So this is really pushing forward on our for research on our mission to Duna, really. I mean, that's effectively what this was for. This base is for. So yeah, we're just going to push ourselves on into orbit and meet with the station where we left our fuel tank and head home, because the Thor lander is our little ship for taking 3 Kerbals to the surface of any world near Kerbin. And yeah, I did a while ago, when I launched this, I actually forgot to fuel up a couple of the small tanks, 4 of the small tanks actually, the very small ones on the bottom, so I am actually lacking a tiny bit of Delta V, but that's pretty much just reserve fuel anyway, so it should be fine once I've rendezvoused with the station, and we'll get the big fuel tank back and go home. I'm just going to close my window real quick. There was a very loud truck outside. Anyway, yes, so we have our encounter, and after a little bit of maneuvering, here we are at the station grabbing the fuel tank. Ready to go home. That little station, not super effective right now. It's just basically for parking stuff and maybe leaving a Kerbal if I really needed to, for whatever reason. Maybe at some point I'll turn it into, I was going to say science station, but I already have a science base on the surface, so surely that's more effective. Anyway, we're going to start heading home now, just with a quick maneuver, and we'll head on down Kerbinside, although Kerbinside is the name of a mod, but you know what I mean. But yeah, this has been a very successful mission, and there will be more. There will be more moon missions once we've refueled it and maybe brought down another big waste container, because that's the problem with those, the carbon scrubbers and the waste, and the carbon scrubbers and the oxygen, the water purifiers. Basically, they turn carbon dioxide into oxygen but produce waste, and they turn wastewater into water but also produce waste. So And waste is basically the waste product of food in this game, so it means you have to have a lot of waste containers. And I do have an extra waste container on the moon, but that has filled up more quickly than I anticipated, so that's kind of annoying. But if I were to plan it properly in the future and had just a big waste container that fills up and then just leaves and then I replace it, that would work much better. And that's my plan for doing it, because it means I won't have to take as much life support. And there is also a module that allows you to grow food on the surface, so I can mark Watney the shit out of this. But it is still constrained by the amount of waste I can store, so I might have to send a very own, just a waste ship. But yes, here we are, just slowing down around Kerbal, doing our standard thing. I've done this many a time, and you've seen it many a time, where I do a two-step slow down. Basically, I slow down until I have a close encounter, and then I slow down again when I come back around and meet the station. As you can see, I'm planning here after doing, I guess, a quick burn. But anyway, when I do come around, it does kind of screw up, because I fly right by the station and I totally wasn't paying attention. So I pretty much just do a big U-turn. I slow right down and just head back, because I'm only 7 kilometers away, so I could probably get there quite easily just by burning towards it very noobishly. Oh no, I don't do that. I don't do the noobish thing. I set my orbit so it'll arrive near it in an orbit's time. I was just having a sip of water. But yeah, that was a very good job, Peter. You spaced well. But here we are at the station, and I just need to make sure I get closer than 2 kilometers, because it's not my 1 kilometer space. Oh, that'd make docking so much easier if I had my 1 kilometer space station, which, if you haven't seen, you should totally check out. That was a really fun video. See, a 1 kilometer space station has all kinds of purposes. You can just don't even have to get that close, and it'll be there because it's massive. Maybe I should just build a Dyson sphere. Ooh, next game objective, build a Dyson sphere. I don't think that would really be supported in Kerbal Space Program, or would really be possible. So yeah. Anywho, probably do it around Gilly. I know it wouldn't be a Dyson sphere, but it would be cool. I'll look into it. So anyway, we're just going to dock to this top docking port, because this station's getting rather full, because it's got the Ares 3 there, the Dragon 2 looking spacecraft, which is going to be there for a while, because it's got a long duration crew taken up and has various people to take back down. And obviously the Ares 2 I should really take out to the moon and dock to my station, that little spacecraft down on the right. That's so useless to me, and I should so dock to my station, but I haven't got around to it. And then obviously all the other spacecraft. But I am going to free up one of the docking ports by... okay, apparently I'm not. I think I may have got my footage in the wrong order. This should have been at the start, where oh no, for a second I thought I had my footage in the wrong order because it's the same spacecraft. No, I totally didn't. I was just fueling up this spacecraft, because one of the other reasons we had to come back from the moon is I really need this spacecraft, because I have 2 Kerbals who are tourists who I need to take to Minmus, and they have to go like pretty soon, because I don't want them on the station for too long, because it's using up life support and things. So yeah, we're just going to send them out to Minmus, and that's another reason I needed the Thor lander back. I was so confused then. I was like, didn't I just bring this back? No. So yeah, this will just be a fairly quick mission. We're just going to drop down onto the surface. Hopefully a biome I haven't landed on. Well, I've landed on all of them, I think. But one I haven't done most of the science on, but I don't know which ones those are, basically. I don't really keep track. But I am mostly done with science on Minmus, but it is becoming rather a tourist destination. And after this, we'll pretty much just have to land a couple of Kerbals on the moon, and I think take one on a flyby past Minmus, and I think that's it, and then we can take them back, and it'll pay quite nicely. And better pay, because my last fueling, the rocket that took up that fueling vehicle last time, if you remember, just sort of hit the ocean really hard, which kind of sucked. So yeah, I'm just gonna do my quick inclination change, and all will be good. We're just gonna get on our way, but between now and then we have a launch. You can see in the top left we've got a launch in 6 days, and we won't be at Minmus in 6 days. So we're gonna leave this here with a timer so I don't forget it. I'm gonna launch our brand new rocket, the Starlight 1. It's launching to the space station, and it has a very important payload on board. It's actually a carbon scrubber and water purifier, yes, and a giant waste container. But yes, the Starlight 1, it has the same lifting capability of the Pulsar 3, and it is much, much shorter, like ridiculously shorter by I think a whole big fuel tank is how I would measure it. It has pretty much the same upper stage, but the bottom stage is just using one of those, basically, I guess, RS-25 engines. I think they're called Vectors in the games. And I've just throttled back, limited the gimbal range so it doesn't flip around like crazy to about 1.5 degrees. And it's got such a good thrust-to-weight ratio and a better ISP that it can make just this rocket, this tiny little rocket, have as good a lifting capability as the Pulsar 3, which is pretty impressive because that's a big rocket. It wasn't, the Pulsar 4 was the really big one. But anyway, as I deploy the fairings, you see I've broken my solar panels because I wanted to add some more solar panels to the space station, but apparently that's not going to happen because my fairings totally broke them because I was a little stingy with my fairings. But anyway, we've put this on the right trajectory and we quickly switch to the first stage and we'll see this come back all the way. We'll put the fuel in the bottom tank, and I realize I've actually set my parachutes up to open really late for some reason. I do that on all my rockets and I'm like, oh god, I don't actually want to do that, so I'm just going to make them all deploy now. But yeah, again, this is the first thing we launched in the first part of this video, so it can land entirely on parachutes, but I do leave a little bit of fuel just so that it can slow down, so that it can pull its parachutes more earlier. So yeah, that lands nicely, and we're back in orbit. Well, back in space, hopefully in orbit. And we're going to meet the space station, which is quite good, and we'll reuse that second stage. That's basically the same as the Pulsar 3 second stage, except instead of using 2 drogue chutes and 2 normal parachutes, main chutes, it just uses 3 main chutes so it can land on land if it needs to. And whereas the other one totally couldn't, which sort of sucked. So yeah, we're just gonna get on our way to the station. It'll be a rather nice flight. But yeah, that's the Starlight 1 is what I've called that. I probably could come up with a better name, but I kind of like Starlight for that rocket. When I was looking at it top down, it looks somewhat star-like with its fins, and yeah, it's just a much better rocket. It's kind of more expensive, but it's reusable, so that's good. And it uses much less fuel, which obviously is the non-reusable part of a rocket. So I think it probably is cheaper and cooler, although it doesn't have quite the right thrust-to-weight ratio. So it is slightly limited like that, but because it's smaller, it does just about work out. And I just had to fly it slightly more carefully. It probably didn't come across that well in the 4x time accelerate video. But yeah, here we are at the station, and basically all of the docking ports are full, so I'm going to decouple this probe and just get the Ares 4, this out to go and fetch it. So we're just going to maneuver in, and I guess I'm going to have to bat the probe out of the way, which I will do, and you will see in a second after the transition, which is now. And yeah, here we are. So I just bat that out of the way, and maneuver into... Oh, well, I got to bat it out of the way first. It takes a little while to do stuff in space. But yeah, hopefully that won't come back and hit the station or be angry at us. And then just I got to dock with this, except for the problem that, like a moron, I actually end up bumping the little module, which makes it rotate, which makes it basically impossible to dock with. Impossible if you're not amazing. But luckily for you, I am amazing. And hit time warp, because I'm not amazing. I have docked with rotating things before, but I just couldn't do it in this, and I was running out of RCS, so I just kind of hit time accelerate, because I wasn't going to get it. And you can see my monopropellant in the top right is down to 2 units, which is going to make this a really hard docking when I go back to the station, because that's not enough monopropellant. But I have an engine, and I have years of experience of doing this kind of thing, and I did just totally dock with a rotating reference frame. I shouldn't have told you. You would have thought I was amazing. But anyway, yeah, so we're gonna just put it on the side of this docking port. We're actually expanding the space station sideways for once, which is gonna look interesting. But yeah, this will hopefully... it also has a couple of batteries on it, because we're lacking electric charge on the station. I keep running out in the nighttime, which kind of sucks. Because then it gets very cold for the Kerbals in the deep darkness of space. So yeah, using the last of my electric charge, I maneuver into the right position, and then using my engine, I get myself on the right trajectory, and dock pretty hard at like 0.4 meters per second, but it's fine. The magnetism pulls me in, and we are not lost in space, which is rather nice. I don't particularly like being lost in space, although it does make for good videos. Although not when it's just in orbit, that's really, really boring. But we're going to start up these purifiers to run more tests for our mission to Duna. But anyway, I still need to bring back that second stage because reasons, and I actually burned too early because I was looking at the wrong thing on the map. So I'm actually going to come in on the other side of the KSE, which I think should be fine, but also kind of annoying. And here we are, just coming back rather nicely. It's a pretty beautiful first stage, and it's going to land on the ocean. So yes, the Starlight 1, a total success on its first mission. We'll be replacing the Pulsar 1, no, the Pulsar 2 and the Pulsar 3, and the Pulsar 4 is already gone. Much complaints about that. I think it was actually just one guy, but he was the loudest. So anyway, talking of terrible re-entries, I'm bringing back this fueling spacecraft, and you can see I've put my periaps way around the planet. So I was like, oh, I'll just put it really deep, and it'll be fine. I'll come back in the right place. I do back off that a little bit, but still not super great. So when I'm coming back, I'm thinking I'm going to hit those mountains, which I wasn't. So I fire up the engines and burn off the last of my fuel, which means I will hit those mountains, which is just great, because when you land on a mountain with a spacecraft, it goes amazingly. So what happened here was pretty much the steepest place I could have landed. I come down, and I thought it was going to stop, and it just sort of didn't. All of my solar panels are just shattering, and then I pretty much slipped down this entire cliff, and that's kind of shitty. And whenever it looks like I'm going to stop, I just flip over, and things explode. And eventually I do lose that fuel tank, which also means I lose the engines and some of the RCS thrusters, which luckily isn't the most expensive part of the spacecraft. That's the top bit, which luckily survives. So we just slip down the rest of this mountain. Pretty steep cliff. I think we slipped for about, I don't know how far, but it feels like a very long way. But yeah, we still have about 12,000 funds worth of equipment here, and when we recover it for a reasonably high recovery factor, we get 12,000 funds back. So it's semi-reusable, but I think that was a $70,000 spacecraft, and we didn't get back the rocket stage or much of the freaking spacecraft. So yeah. But anyway, back at Minimus, we're just putting ourselves into orbit with the Thor lander, so that we can land, and these tourists can be very happy that they sat on Minimus briefly, because I'm not going to hang around. I'm just going to get a little bit more life support into the cockpit, because just in case I somehow get stuck on Minimus for a day, or they really want to sightsee, and I don't want to suffocate, you know, that'd kind of suck. But yeah, it'll be fine. So we leave the fuel tank there, as per always. And I also think I didn't fuel up that bottom, the little tiny the 45 unit tank. I don't think I put any fuel in that. I think I really underfueled this spacecraft, but it's fine because it's Minmus and it's way less delta V. But I should really watch that in future, because I'm not putting enough fuel in this spacecraft ever, and I'm endangering lives there. Although last time I did it, they were going to a base, so they would have been fine. And I do actually have a base on Minmus for, I think, just money reasons, which I never use. So if it all went to shit, I probably could get to the base and just live there forever. Because I'm not sending a rescue mission to people who don't put enough fuel in their spacecraft. Although it is Jebediah Kerman and 2 tourists who are literally worth money to me. So I probably would send a rescue mission. So yeah, we're going to land in, I think, the Great Flats. And, oh, this was where I first landed, which I think means I've already taken the science from it. Because I probably came back and took the repeat experiments from things I didn't do. And yeah, we've completed most of those missions. A few people just want to land on the moon, and I think one person does want to fly by Minmus. There was just no room for them in this spacecraft because there needed to be a pilot. So we take a little bit of science, just getting whatever we can, so that we can unlock beautiful new things. And we take a surface sample. Don't bother planting a flag because there's one literally 10 kilometers from here. And yeah, so we're just going to go back and dock with this spacecraft that is somehow called Thor 1. Which is really annoying because it should be called Thor 1 Probe. The naming on my spacecraft has gotten really broken. I think it's because I keep changing where I can control it from and keep docking them to various stations and renaming them. And yeah, I think it's probably all my fault. I don't even know how you'd keep track of that in the game code. So anyway, so yeah, we're just going to rendezvous with the station. I way overburned, but that's fine because I didn't put enough fuel in the spacecraft. So yeah, making the problem worse, which I totally am. And yeah, so we've got a pretty close encounter anyway, so that's fine, and I have more than enough Delta V to get back. Don't you worry about our tourists. And yeah, we get a nice, slightly closer encounter when I do an inclination change, and then just meet with the fuel tank, which also has a probe and life support on it, so it's more than just a fuel tank. When you see that at really high speed, it's a really cool motion when it kind of like arcs into me, because orbital shit or whatever. So yeah, just gonna go and fetch this docking port. I've done this so many times that it seems fairly monotonous right now. When I was flying out here, I was like, this is just like being a truck driver at this point. It's like space trucking, which a lot of people call Elite Dangerous. I don't think Elite Dangerous is space trucking. When I play it, I'm like 90% of my time is spent in like dogfights. I know that's because I actively seek them out and go to the battle zones, but I think you just gotta really know what you do. Although I wouldn't know what I was doing with Elite Dangerous if Penguin didn't know, because I played with Penguin and he was like, oh yeah, you can do all of this. I was like, whoa, this is a way cooler game than I thought it was. So how did Penguin find out? Is it just basically an infinite number of people you know? An infinite is it Turtles all the way down with Elite Dangerous combat? I think it might be. So yeah, that's my theory. But yes, this has started to feel a little like space trucking, but that's fine. I kind of like it. It's very relaxing and stuff. And I do interesting things. I got all the planets, so I'm going to go back to Moho next episode with something interesting. And again, preparing for Duna. I'm doing the NASA thing where I just won't stop talking about Mars. They keep tweeting things out like, you want to live on Mars? Maybe you should try living in the Antarctic first. I'm like, you're really not selling Mars to me, man. Tell me it's like being in the Bahamas. Then I'll go to Mars. Because it's red and it looks hot. And I know it's cold, but shut up. Just lie to me. Lie to me, NASA. No, don't lie to me. You're a government organization. Tell me the truth. But I also don't really want to live in the Antarctic, so I'm not sure I do want to live on Mars. Maybe in a space station above Mars, so then I wouldn't even have to look at Earth. No, Earth's probably more pretty to look at than Mars. I don't know. Depends what you like, I guess. Although those new Curiosity rover pictures are pretty insane. Like, they've started heading up basically, I guess, not a mountain, but like more hilly terrain. And it's like, wow, that looks like Earth, because it's like these rocks that look a lot like Earth, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy. So anyway, yes, just doing like inclination change, and then a bunch more maneuvering, and blah, blah, blah. Here we are at the station, just kind of slowing down, and eventually docking to the giant, what has become a real big mess of things now, because I didn't have any of the big docking ports, so it is a total mess. Yeah, but anyway, there we are, nice and docked, and we'll take the Kerbals out of it and take the science and put it in the Ares, because I forgot to take the science out after the moon base, and I don't want to lose that somehow. So yeah. Anyway, this is the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll come back for the next episode, and yeah, in the next episode we should be sending something back to Moho. We've got more things to do around Kerbin. But yeah, and if you want to go check out a couple more videos, yesterday I uploaded my first Fall of Kerbin, which it's been doing pretty well, but if you haven't seen it, you totally should. It's a great video. And I did mention at some point in the video about my 1 kilometer space station, which I actually did in a video, kind of, sort of, but it was really fun, so you should check it out. And also, as always, there is my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon linked in the description. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I will see you next time.